Google Ads is still probably the most popular ad platform out there. But just because it's the most popular, it doesn't mean it's going to be the best performing platform for your brand. I recently held a presentation for users where I showed them how we took wasted ad spend from a few different Google accounts and moved them to alternative paid media channels to see better results and quicker wins. I wanted to share this presentation with you. Hopefully it gives you new ideas to test so you can improve your overall marketing strategies. I think it's very important for me to start off and clarify that I'm not here to just completely bash Google, because I feel Google is still a very valuable channel for marketing your business. Almost all of our clients are still active on Google Ads and seeing pretty good results. But at the same time, I'm not going to pretend that they're fully innocent. And there's no way I can claim anymore that everything they do is great. Anyone who's been in this business long enough could probably agree with that statement. And there's many reasons that I have gripes with Google, which gives me the reason to go back to clients and say, we need to start moving our spend to other places. Let me go through a few of those examples. For years, match types haven't worked like they originally did. And Google can claim that close variant matching keeps getting better and better, but in many of our accounts, we just don't see that. If you look at the keywords in this account that we're actually targeting in the red box on the right, and then look at the actual search terms that they're tied to, almost all of them are very far apart. And this is an account with years and years of negative keyword building. So the fact that we have to almost retroactively add negative keywords after we wasted the spend, it's not great. So until we get match types back the way they used to be, and we know that's not going to happen, we're still going to be wasting a lot of spend. Now on top of that, within the search term reports, this is the same account, we still have a lack of search term reporting within the channel. And yes, Google has said we're going to get more information back in the channel, that they've listened to us and everything, but this image is only a couple months old. And in many of our accounts, we're still not even seeing half of the search term impressions within this report. So even if we are being very active in adding negative keywords, there's still a ton that we can't see. And if we look at how bad the close variant matching is within the account, we know we are wasting a lot of ad spend. Another reason is that we keep seeing search partner quality decline. And I will go as far and say that in most of our accounts, search partner performance is completely dead. It was never perfect to begin with, no, but in several accounts over the years, we've seen it work very well, and we could confirm the quality. Well, lately, in a few of our accounts, we've seen massive spikes like this. Out of nowhere, all of a sudden, search partner is getting a ton of conversions in a short period of time, and then we can go back in the CRM and see that they're all junk. Fake emails, fake names, sometimes repeating the same 4 messages over and over again. So we pretty much turn the setting off in almost all of our campaigns, in all of our client accounts, and that opens up room for more spend to start testing other channels. So those are just a few of the reasons that we still have gripes with Google and can find ways to move spend around. On top of that, even in campaigns and ad groups that are performing, is every keyword performing well? Is every aspect of your campaigns performing at a very profitable cost per conversion? No. So even in successful elements of the account, you can probably turn some things off and shift budgets around to start testing out new channels. And if you're looking at testing a lot of channels, there's a ton of options out there. What you see right now isn't everything, but all of these other platforms have ad networks that you can look and research and potentially try out. And if we ever get client pushback about testing other channels, we ask them one pretty important question. Is that, do you really think your target audience is only on Google properties? I highly doubt it. And odds are that they're not. And especially in accounts that we manage where a closed deal is worth a ton of money, it's not right for us to assume that they're going to click on an ad one time and convert. The higher the price point, the more often you need to get back in front of the users over and over again. And if you're only doing that on Google properties, when your target audience could be visiting a bunch of other platforms, you're not really putting in the full effort to try to stay in front of the user. Remember, I just said, you can't always assume that they're going to click on an ad one time and convert immediately. This is just one example that we pulled from the conversion path reports in GA4. So many differing factors that dictate how easy a user can convert. And in many cases, you need to constantly be in front of the user. And we often see that paid is a very important part in the path, even if it's not always the last click conversion element. And in many cases, a user sees our ads on a variety of different platforms before deciding to convert. So if you still don't think that your audience is on other platforms, there's a few ways that we can check to confirm if they are. Gives you more confidence to see if you should even start testing out a specific ad platform. So the first thing to do is go to a channel that you want to research and then just create an account. It's usually pretty much free to just sign up for any of these ad platforms. You may have to give a credit card, but it doesn't mean that you have to create a campaign and launch it. Even if you do, fine, go ahead and create a campaign, but just pause it immediately. you can still look at creating a campaign, see what audiences you can create and what targeting options are available. So you can go back to your team and say, hey, here are some options we have to try to reach our target audience. And you don't have to spend a penny just to even do the research. And now almost every ad platform has some sort of customer list or customer match feature. So take your list of first-party information that you've collected legally, right? You have permission to use these email addresses and import them into the ad platforms. One thing to keep in mind is that every ad platform has a different minimum audience size in order to use it, even for an observation purpose. Certain channels like Pinterest, Quora, LinkedIn have smaller audience sizes. And remember, these are matched. So odds are you'll probably need about double the amount of emails from the match sizes that you see right here in order to see. But if you are uploading a customer list to an ad platform and you see that it's large enough to serve, well, then you know your target audience is active on the ad platform. And if you don't have email lists to use, just add the platform's pixel to your website and start building retargeting audiences. The one you see in the upper left is from Quora, smaller audiences, but still large enough to serve. And the one you see in the lower right is TikTok. For this particular client, they can get tens of thousands of people who visited their website are on TikTok. This is probably a lot easier to see than a customer list, but it's good proof to see if someone is already engaging with your brand, what other platforms do they like to visit in their free time. Okay, so now I'm going to go over 3 actual client scenarios on how we've taken ad spend from Google and shifted it over to other platforms. They are 3 very specific scenarios, so even if they're not really applicable to your accounts, the goal here is just to focus on our mentality of why we were doing things. And maybe it'll set a light bulb off over your head and give you some new ideas that you may want to test for your own accounts. So in this first example, we're working with a client who wanted to target people who were running e-com sites. So this client was still B2B lead gen. And in the keyword selections that you see on the screen right now, Shopify is a brand, but they're not Shopify. They wanted to target people who had Shopify websites. And if you look at the average CPC, it's pretty expensive. These are still considered non-branded terms. Again, they are not Shopify. And to make matters worse, the average CPC as time went on continually increased. Why? Because competition increased and everyone was fighting for the top spots, even Shopify, bidding on their own brand terms for brand protection. So because of that, even though we still wanted to reach the Shopify customer, it was getting harder and harder to make it profitable within search. So we started looking at other options. And eventually we went to TikTok because they have a unique targeting option for hashtag interactions. And these were some of the options that we found. Yes, there was something for Shopify tips, a perfect example, but anything else related to e-commerce and someone who owns an e-commerce business. Now, since this is a new platform, almost entirely video-based, completely different from search, we did have to invest in creating content that best fits the TikTok platform. And if you didn't know, TikTok does have lead forms. So we paired up our new creative with a lead form, asking for the same information that we would a search ad that was sending users to the website. And here are the initial results from TikTok. The cost per conversion, just over 100 euros. Now, when we compare it to Google, understand the currency is different. Cost per conversion in Google was in pounds, a lot higher. Did we turn Google off? No. We took wasted spend from Google, moved it over to TikTok, maximized the performance as best as we could because the audience size was a lot lower, and just shifted spend, finding value in another network while leaving Google running. Let's look at another scenario. This option was for a classic car auction. Here are just some of the keywords that we were targeting, but just to show you in Keyword Planner, even the high range for a top of page bid was very affordable. But the issue is, a lot of people who look at these search terms aren't buyers. We're looking at classic cars here. So many people out there are interested in vintage cars. It doesn't mean that they're going to buy them. So we wanted to try moving some of the spend somewhere else and just see how it performs. And after doing some research on a few different platforms, Reddit was the first alternative channel that we tried. And we started off with community targeting, which is essentially their subreddit targeting. There were plenty of classic or vintage car audiences that we wanted to test out. And if you just research any of the communities, you'll be able to see how many users you can potentially get in front of. Now, it's easy enough when building a campaign to just search for community topics and then add them to your targeting. But it's extremely important to take the time and actually research each of the subreddits. How do the people engage within each of the communities? In our case, we're looking for people who want to buy classic cars. In certain communities, there were people much more active in the buying and selling community versus others who just like to talk about cars. So after we do the research, we can pick which ones would be better for our goals. And then, just like the first TikTok example, we created ads that fit with each of the community. If you see the headline wording, we're talking about how would one of these look in your garage. It can only be in your garage if you want to buy it. It's not a blanket buy this car now. No, we're being subtle. And knowing the platform of Reddit, which is essentially a glorified thread, the ad here is to open up discussion. Many times we see when you're trying to sell way too hard within Reddit, it doesn't work too well. So we're trying to build a brand with a subtle nudge to check out our classic car auctions. Since we were picking very specific communities, there wasn't a ton of traffic. However, you can see in the key events that we were pulling from GA4, we were getting better results than our other paid social platforms for a much lower cost per conversion. And all this was because we decided to pull spend away from Google because we felt the Google audience was too generic and we couldn't hone in on a specific audience as easy as we could with some of the paid social platforms. All right, last scenario. This was for a client that had a dehydration solution product. Some of their competitors would be Gatorade, Pedialyte, that genre of product. Right off the bat, this client told us that email worked wonderful for them. They get someone on the email list, they can get that person to convert and buy a product very easily, and that user comes back over and over again. The problem is their email list wasn't huge because they were fairly new to the market and people didn't really know who they were. So we had to work on branding a little bit. Their target customer was looking at expected moms or brand new moms. So that's a very specific demographic. Now here's where we give Google credit. See, it's not going to be a Google bashing session. For audience targeting in Google, we were happy with what we saw. Google has a ton of targeting options for new mothers, parents with very young children. We couldn't complain here. So we were running display campaigns. On top of that, we were also running YouTube campaigns because there are a ton of mommy blog and new mom YouTube channels out there. And we were trying to target almost everyone that we could find. So again, no complaints on the Google audience targeting side for both display and video. Now, just because things are going well in one channel doesn't mean that we were avoiding testing new things. The goal is to constantly improve and get more for our budget. So we went to Quora. Quora is a massive question and answer site. And in this one example here, we were just pretending we were a new parent typing in baby dehydrated. There we see a lot of questions related to dehydration in young children with people's answers, advice, and recommendations. Now within the actual campaign targeting, you can go down. So if you find a question and answer that you think is very relevant and you would like to put an ad on that page, you can target down to the individual question level. Extremely specific. But you have to be careful that the volume could be too low to even serve an ad. So to find out, go to a specific page of just one question. The top red box with the 3 dots, click on it to open the menu, and then you could view the question log. Here we see lifetime views of this question. It's not a monthly view, it's lifetime views. And in this case, someone hasn't followed it in a long time and it doesn't have a lot of followers. So you may need to look at a lot of individual questions if you want to get that specific. For whatever reason, if you don't see a lot of individual questions with a ton of volume, you can look at topic targeting. All questions within Quora are bucketed into individual topics. And look at the targeting options that we have for topics for this client. New moms, new parents, new babies, new mothers, all extremely relevant to our target demographic. This is exactly who we wanted to reach. And if you look at the bids, we're looking at 40 cents. Is it comparable or cheaper than display and YouTube on Google? Not necessarily. However, it's definitely a heck of a lot cheaper than search and shopping on Google for this particular product. But remember earlier, I mentioned they knew email was their best performer. Their goal was to grow email. Quora also has lead gen forms. So we weren't using Quora to get people to buy product. There is no shopping feature on there. And we understand that people were on Quora to find information, get answers, helpful resources. We weren't going to go on there asking them to buy product. If they're looking for information and research, then we use the tool to get them to sign up for our newsletter to get new tips every month. Being a helpful resource and solution for a potentially very nerve-wracking time, especially if you're a new parent. Because of this, not pushing product, pushing email signups, and collecting first-party information, we helped grow their email database by 32% in just a matter of a few weeks. So we were lucky enough to have a client who understood that we weren't using Quora to help drive immediate sales. We were using ads to help the overall business, especially if they're getting an email reminder every month about a new blog with another reminder to buy product. Investing in the email aspect for their business has a much better lifetime value than us using ads to just push product. Look at the overall business goals, not just how ads are helping ads. Now that being said, we still can use traffic and performance from other channels to help Google. If you do decide to test a variety of different channels, we highly recommend that you have consistent UTM parameters. Maybe keep your medium tagging consistent. Do you have CPC for every ad channel out there? If you're running the same type of campaign but on multiple different ad platforms, are your campaign naming conventions consistent? And that's important because we can build audiences in GA4 or Google Ads based upon any of your UTMs. The more we can lump audiences together, again, only if it makes sense, the better it'll be for us to look at some of these aspects for remarketing. So in this case, maybe we were running the same campaign across all of paid social. I can lump all of the paid social UTMs together and run some Google remarketing, whether it's through YouTube, create audiences for Performance Max or Demand Gen, those sort of things. Same thing with campaign names if they're consistent across multiple platforms. Now, in certain cases like Quora, when we were tagging it with Quora topic targeting, for that client, we can create an audience knowing they came from very specific topics on Quora and then remarket to them on Google because we were already running display and video campaigns, and then come back to them with new parent-focused remarketing audiences that did push product a little bit more. So I know I only went through 3 examples using TikTok, Reddit, and Quora, but real quick before I wrap it up, I want to give you a few more ideas of what type of unique targeting options are out there in different ad platforms. We still run into a lot of potential clients that think Spotify ads is really only to promote your podcast. That's not the case at all. If you find specific interest targeting that's related to your industry, you can run standard ads to promote your business on Spotify. They even have video advertising now, so consider that as one option. Disney's Campaign Manager has a very robust database of first-party information. Think of everything Disney owns, besides Disney Plus, all of the Disney parks, National Geographic, Hulu, Star Wars, Marvel Comics, ABC. I have no problem admitting I am a Star Wars, Disney parks, and Marvel guy. They have all my family's information. Right now, just think of that whole audience and all the information that you collect. There are so many very specific targeting options within Disney's Campaign Manager. They do have a self-serve platform that's only a $500 buy-in to start showing ads on Disney Plus or Hulu. Very affordable. This one I can almost guarantee that your audience will be on this some way or another, and they will have a targeting option for you. Pinterest ads aren't always for the do-it-yourself or Etsy crowd. Even for this vintage car auction, we found options for us to test for anyone interested in classic or vintage cars. Something that we didn't initially think would be a good fit for us, but there it was. And then ABM targeting, always huge. Everyone likes to run to LinkedIn first, which makes complete sense. But don't forget that Microsoft owns LinkedIn. So Microsoft Ads has ABM targeting. So for a lot of our B2B clients, we've pulled spend away from Google and moved it over to Microsoft Audience Ads where we can target specific companies. Again, the goal here is to not say shut off Google. And I would never tell you to turn anything off if it's working for you. But what I've said several times already is that I'm pretty sure you can find areas within your Google account where you're seeing poor or no returns and shut them off. If you've been running that keyword that you think is so valuable for like a year and you've really seen nothing from it, why are you still running that keyword? Turn it off. Pause that poor performing ad. Pause that horrible ad group. Pause your poor performing keywords. Move the spend to test out another channel to see if you can improve overall performance. I love talking about other platforms. To me, it makes the job more fun working in a variety of different platforms instead of just one. So if you have any questions about the ad platforms we talked about, or even the several that I couldn't even mention within this video, let me know in the comments.
Thanks for watching our video. We really appreciate it. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up below. If you really liked it, maybe think about subscribing to the Paid Media Pros YouTube channel and you'll get alerted every time a new video drops.
If you really liked it, you can help support the channel by checking out some of the t-shirts that we're wearing on our merch shelf, as well as looking at the Super Thanks button.